I want to go ahead and apologize in advance for Moana playing in the background, as well as my youngest son jumping and laughing, and I'm sorry if it's too overbearing in the video.
Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Grace, and this is going to be just a couple of videos in a series on exclusively pumping. I feel like there's not a whole lot of information out there, or it's not talked about enough, that exclusively pumping is breastfeeding and that it's a viable option if you can't actually breastfeed from the breast. So this series is just going to give you some basics and some information on how to get started, as well as going in depth on different kind of milk bags, different kinds of pumps, and the different misconceptions that are out there about exclusively pumping. So if you're ready to find out some more information, go ahead and keep watching. So the first thing that you should check is whether or not your insurance company actually covers a pump. Most insurance companies will cover a certain number of different kinds of pumps, like Medela, Spectra, Amida. Some even cover freemies. So you should check to see what pumps your insurance does cover and how much it covers. Most insurance companies will cover at little to no cost. The rest will cover some, and you'll just have to pay the remainder of the amount. Also check to see if they cover any of the extra stuff. That would be such as these are the Medela membranes, as well as the yellow part. I really don't know the actual name for the yellow parts. If you know, comment down below. As well as this is the part that actually hooks to your pump right here, and these are called the flange. The flanges, well, multiple are flanges. Check to see if your insurance company will cover extras of these as well as milk bags if you plan on storing. The second thing that I would check is whether or not you have a good flange fit. And what I mean by flange fit is this part right here should be about the same size as your nipple, but your nipple shouldn't be touching. Like, it should just be like a hair bigger than your nipple. Otherwise, it can be very painful, and it can actually cut down on your milk production. You won't be getting, it won't be as efficient as far as getting your milk out. So definitely get those checked. If you get it checked and you feel like it's not the right size still, check with another lactation consultant. It is perfectly fine to get a second opinion. Most of the time, the WIC departments do have a lactation consultant there. So if you're on WIC and you're already going to be there to go get your baby added on, go ahead and see if they'll take a look for you. The next thing, number 3, is going to be bottles, as well as milk bags and pump bags. What I mean by bottles is I was pumping 8 times a day, and I would fill up 2 to 3, 4 to 5 ounce bottles every time I pumped. Now, it would probably make more sense for me to use the 8 or 9 ounce bottles, but for sitting down and pumping, the 4 to 5 ounce bottles was, since they were shorter, they were more comfortable for me to use. So that's what I used. So if you have that same situation, you probably need a decent amount of bottles. So I technically needed 24 bottles in a day, and needed a couple extra after that as well. For on the go, if I needed to do something like hand express in between, say I was engorged in between pumps, which didn't happen often, but it did happen. That way I could relieve myself and have a couple backups as well. You also need, if you plan on storing milk, milk bags. And not every milk bag is the same, unfortunately. I wish it was. It would make things better, but each brand has, you know, it's like a personal thing. There are several different kinds of bags, so you just need to find the best one for you. Now, if you're starting out and you aren't really sure where to start, Parent Choice or Target Up and Up would be where I would start. They're the cheapest ones. I know Parent Choice, at least here in Georgia, you can get 100 milk bags for $13.98, I think. Yeah, I think it was $15 with tax. So that would be, and that's a really good deal. That's a really good deal. So I would start with either Target Up and Up or those. Otherwise, you've got Lansino, which some say those tend to leak, but then you've got those that are like, I've never had a problem, and those are the best bags on the planet. They're pretty okay. I think they're pretty okay. I prefer Parent Choice, but like I said, it's a personal preference on which kind of bags you want to use. But get those as well if you plan to store milk. So another thing that you'll need, especially if you're going to be a working pumping mother, is going to be a good pump bag. This is going to be what you transport your pump back and forth to work in, as well as any extra batteries, potentially your pumping snacks, and your bottles that you'll need to pump into, as well as milk bags if you go ahead and do that transfer now. So I've got 2 bags. One that let me get this one first. This is what I started out with. A Bahamas bag from a cruise I went on several years ago. Works perfectly fine. So if you don't have the money to get a bag, an actual pump bag, any bag you have will be fine. It really will. It may not be quite as convenient, but it'll get the job done, and honestly that's really all that matters. Now I do have an actual pump bag that I got, and it looks like a little backpack. So right here, sorry this is not working out too well with me holding my son, but right here is where you put your pump, as well as your battery pack or your actual, it's not charger, your plug, and then up here at the top, right here, we have a flap where you can see I've got some extra tubing. I've got a bottle, which these don't fit on my pump, so I don't know why these are the ones in here. But then I've got some bottles as well. And that holds a pretty decent bit. And this is actually the same bag that came with my Medela pumping style. So if you get that with the backpack, this is probably what you're going to be getting. And it is quite handy. There's also, I believe, Sarah Wells. They're a little more pricier, but apparently completely and totally worth it, as well as several other pumping bags. So you just Google search pumping bags and you should have a pretty decent amount come up for you. So the next thing is going to be to pump 8 to 12 times a day, especially in your first 12 weeks. So that 12 weeks is about when your supply regulates. So then you can that's when you can really kind of change how many times a day you pump, and most women won't really see a decrease in supply at all. But the first 12 weeks, you should definitely pump every 2 to 3 hours. And I know that seems like a lot, but that's what's going to help your supply the most. And that's just during the day. Most women don't pump 2 to 3 hours at night. They go more like 3 to 4, which is perfectly fine. The more rest you get actually helps. And I know that's easier said than done when you're pumping, but that helps as well. So, and if 8 to 12 times a day isn't feasible for you, honestly, just get in as much as you can. When I first started out, I did 8, and that was the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm somebody, I have to have 8 hours of sleep a night in order to be functional. So for the first 2 months, I was not functional at all. So I wound up having to change my pumping schedule because it just wasn't working for me. And we'll get into those kind of things later on, how to change your pumping schedules without getting mastitis and all that fun stuff, because that's fun if you've ever had that. So the next thing that you want to do is to get about 500 extra calories a day on top of what you already should be eating, and that is because you are actually burning calories as you are making milk. So if you don't eat enough calories, you potentially won't make enough milk. That's not true for every woman. Every body is different. So if I make like a general statement, it's a general statement. It doesn't mean that's what's going to be for you. As well as you should make sure you are definitely hydrated enough. I would say drink water, but not everybody likes water. As long as you're getting enough to stay hydrated. Now, if you are talking in terms of water, even if you flavor it a little bit so it doesn't taste god-awful, you should be drinking half your weight in ounces. I am roughly about 155 pounds, so I should be drinking about 75 ounces of, I almost said milk. It's about 75 ounces of water daily minimum. Some other things that will keep you hydrated that aren't water Body Armor is great because of the coconut water in there. Granted, you don't really taste the coconut water, so if that's something that you're like, ugh, don't worry, you don't really taste the coconut water in there. It's actually pretty good. Also, they have the pink drink at Starbucks. If you don't know what that is, that's another coconut water drink. Coconut water really, really keeps you hydrated. So if you can find a way to incorporate coconut water without tasting the coconut water, you'll probably be okay. And something else that I kind of wanted to touch on is going to be the pumping station. If you don't know what a pumping station is, basically you pick a spot in the house and you set up all the stuff you need to pump right there, so you don't have to get up. So I have a recliner that I sit in when I pump, and my husband was nice enough to build me a pumping station, but you don't have to go through all this. I keep my pump in there, my bottle holder thingy with 16 of my 25 bottles needed a day, as well as the lids for them and nipples in case I need to feed him while I'm pumping, which is so helpful if you can learn how to do that. And some snacks. I used to keep the Nature Valley granola bars, bomb.com, as well as oatmeal cream pies. If you don't know, oatmeal is a galactico. I think that's how you say that. I don't know. Excuse me if that's not right. But it's a galactico thing. Anyway, it's supposed to help increase your milk. Oatmeal helps increase your milk. But I cannot stand the taste of oatmeal. Like, so I eat oatmeal cream pies instead. So much healthier for you, right? Right? Yeah, I know they're terrible, but it works. I could tell when I didn't have oatmeal cream pie during my pump, my next pump was quite lower. When I say quite, I mean like 3 or 4 ounces lower. The last thing that I want to touch on is going to be ways to track your pumps. Something that's really going to help you. You can set a timer, it'll let you know like 10 minutes before you need to pump so you can get ready, and it'll track how long you've pumped, what you pump, how many times a day you pump, and even give you stats like your highest pump was this, your lowest pump was this, and this is the longest time you've had to pump was this, shortest time you've had to pump was this. Basically, you know, like all your stats for your pumping. It's really cool how detailed they get. Pump log, which is great because pump log will actually tell you if you keep track of how much you've got stored, which we'll go over storage later, but if you keep track of how much you've got stored, it'll actually tell you what your expected last pump day is based on how long you want your milk to last. So he's 5 months. If I wanted just to pump up until 6 months and stop, it would tell me how long. In this case, it would tell me how long I could keep him on breast milk afterwards. So I've got about 4,000 ounces stored up. So that's about 4 months worth. So I would be able to feed him solely breast milk until about 10 months, which is awesome. But if you were wanting to just go based off when can I stop and get him enough milk to last a year, it would tell you that as well. It would tell you you need 3,000 more ounces to get him to a year. And it would track down your days. So it'll tell you 87 days left to go, 65 days left to go, 20 days left to go. You got 1 day left to go. And then it'll say, you made it. Woo! And then you can celebrate so you can stop pumping. Yeah. Anyway, so they also, Dairy Bar and Milk Stash is great to track how many bags you got, and like keep up. One of them you can put in the time, and the day, and the ounce. Actually, I think all of them do that. So you can track like, oh, this bag is gonna go bad in this day, and this bag will go bad on this day. So you can make sure that you keep your stash rotating, that you're using all of your milk up before the expiration date. So check into a couple of tracker apps to see. There's also some that'll track your milk stored as well as your pumping, as well as diaper outputs and all that stuff, because all that's important as well. So just check those out and pick which one's best. Again, it's going to be a personal preference. So one thing I wanted to mention that I just realized that I didn't was when you are pumping, even in the very beginning, you need to make sure that you're pumping until you're completely empty. If you don't, you are telling your body that it does not need to make the milk that you did not pump out. Also, hand expressing after you get done pumping. Try massaging your breast, or even during pumping, and then afterwards hand express. You take your hand and you just start at the top and just squeeze all the way down, and what that does is it helps pull out potentially more milk. When I did it, I would get an extra 2 to 3 ounces depending on which boob it was. So that was almost a whole nother feed right there, was 2 to 3 ounces. So one thing I did not mention that I just realized is probably really important is the fact that when you are pumping, even in the beginning, you need to make sure you're pumping until you're empty. So lactation consultants are not, and again, general statement. I'm not talking about each individual lactation consultant. A general statement. Lactation consultants are not well versed on exclusively pumping. They are more so versed on feeding from the breast. So they'll tell you to pump for about 20 minutes, maybe even 15. And that is great. That is great. Pump for 15 to 20 minutes, but if you can still feel that you've got milk in there, and most of the time if there's a decent amount, you can feel, especially in the beginning, you need to get the milk out. Otherwise, you're telling your body that it doesn't need to make that milk, and potentially it could be substantial amounts. So pump until you're empty. You should aim to get 2 or 3 letdowns in a pumping session, and basically that's when your milk stops flowing, and if you pump another 5 minutes, there should be another stream of milk or so come out, and you get another ounce or 2. Not always that much, but it still is more milk. And then when you're done, try hand expressing to make sure that you are completely empty. It's basically you just take your hand and you're massaging it from the top all the way down to the nipple, and someone is teething, and that will help get the rest of the milk out. If you need some of the resources on exclusively pumping, I am going to be posting some more videos, and once I get them posted, I will put the link down in the description box, as well as there are other videos here on YouTube that would be great. Facebook groups are also going to be another great resource, to be completely honest. I'm in 2. There's one for just exclusively pumping mothers, and no nursing talk is allowed. So if that is a sensitive topic to you, which is completely understandable if it is, that is a safe haven, so to speak, because it's not allowed. They'll actually kick you out for it because of it being a sensitive topic. Another group is going to be 1 ounce at a time -support. It's run by Elizabeth, and she also is really great at helping size for your flanges if you still feel like something's not right. So check them out. Both they both do require questions in order to be put in the group, but just check them out and go and find as much support as you can. Exclusively pumping is very hard, and it takes all the support that you can get in order to make it successful. But just know that, Mama, you got it. You can do it, and no matter what, any amount of breast milk is better than none, and that is what I want you to remember. Even if you have to wind up supplementing with formula, it is okay. It is perfectly fine. Any amount of breast milk is better than none. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in our next video, and say bye.